I'm Myriam.
And I'm Elyse. Two friends bound by the love of books.
Taking on the world one chapter at a time. This is the Book Bound Besties podcast. Hey, Book Bound Besties! Welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of the Book Bound Besties podcast, where we deep dive into your favorite books, have unhinged chats, and Elyse theorizes about what's to come since she has not read the book before. Mm-hmm. Today we're going to be talking about Iron Flame chapters 1 to 5. So this is something we're doing a little bit differently in season 2. Mm-hmm. For season 1, when we read Fourth Wing, we did 3 chapters at a time. Iron Flame is only 100 pages longer and has double the number of chapters.
Yeah.
So
short chapters, so we figured we could probably afford a couple more an episode.
Yeah, exactly. We also didn't want to be doing this book for months and months and months because poor Elyse.
Yeah, a 3-month read is hard on a book that is this action-packed, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little content warning. We also thought of doing this because this book kind of takes it up a notch. Mm-hmm. This episode may contain topics that are not suitable for little ears, so beware. We have a lot of friends that listen, and they have kids, and I think, well, a lot of them have already read this book, but for those of you...
It's going to get spicy.
Yeah. Spicy, violent,
yeah,
dramatic,
yeah,
all the things.
All the things.
Okay, so before we actually start,
yeah,
I wanted to talk to you about I just wanted to go through the trigger warnings of Iron Flame versus Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
And the trigger warnings in Iron Flame are much more intense.
Oh, I didn't even notice them.
Yeah, so if we look here, Fourth Wing, the trigger warnings are for war, battle, hand-to-hand combat, perilous situations, blood, intense violent, brutal injuries, death, poisoning, graphic language, and sexual activities. Mm-hmm. The trigger warnings for Iron Flame...
I'm scared.
War, psychological and physical torture, imprisonment, intense violence, brutal injuries, perilous situations, blood, dismemberment, burning, murder, death, animal death, graphic language, loss of family, grief, and sexual activities.
Heavy.
Yeah. Anyway, on that lovely note.
Let's get into it.
There's also the same blurb at the beginning of Iron Flame about Jesinia writing the story.
Right.
That there was in Fourth Wing.
Right.
Just a little note. The other thing is, this season, Elyse and I are listening to the audiobook so that we can provide our listeners with the proper pronunciation of certain words.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned is that it's not pronounced Arisha, it's pronounced Arisha.
Okay.
So that's just something.
I must confess, I did not listen to the audiobook.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
But I will moving forward.
No, it's fine. At least as long as one of us does.
Yeah, no, I know.
The thing, though, with the audiobook narration is you have to take the pronunciation with a grain of salt. Because in Throne of Glass, this isn't a spoiler. I'm not going to go into any detail. But there is a character named Guylaine. Guylaine is a French name that we are very familiar with.
Yeah,
like it's an older name, but it's a name we're familiar with. Mm-hmm. But the audiobook narrator pronounced it Ghislaine.
Oh. Okay.
Which is just like it. You just kind of have to like move past that, but like that is 1000% not the way you pronounce that name.
No.
Like on no.
I mean, maybe somewhere. I don't know.
It's a French name.
I know. I agree. That's very bizarre.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay.
I could not get on board with that pronunciation.
Yeah.
And I just want to point it out. So, yes, I think for words that are specific to this world, for example, Arisha, we will pronounce it the way the audiobook narrator pronounces it. But if there are certain names, like she says Rhiannon differently, like Rhiannon or something. I don't know. Sorry. Like, to me, Rhiannon is a real name.
Yeah.
We're going to pronounce it Rhiannon.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm like, Elyse is so keen to like jump in, and I'm like trying to pull us back for a second.
It's okay.
Let's recap Fourth Wing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. We read a book. Let's recap
We read a whole book. A lot happened. Some of the recap does occur in chapter 1, but Elyse, because you have just read the whole book.
Yeah. What's my recap? Okay.
What's your recap?
Well, I did not prepare a proper synopsis for Fourth Wing.
That's okay.
However,
That's fun.
Basically, the book is about a young woman named Violet. She's about to attend Besgaeth War College, and she has trained her whole life to become a scribe, but her mother is forcing her to become a dragon rider. And the Dragon Rider Squadron is extremely dangerous. A lot of people die left, right, and center. So she's kind of going into it already a bit hesitant because compared to the other people attending this school, she is a lot smaller and she has chronic illness, which makes her joints weaker than most people. She's going in with a bit of a disadvantage that she's going to have to find a way around that other people don't have to. So anyway, she goes and she ends up just outsmarting the program basically and fighting her way through it. She ends up bonding not one, but two dragons and makes a lot of amazing friends along the way. Has this kind of enemies to lovers situation with Xaden Ryerson, who is the son of her mother's mortal enemy. She fights her way through the year and she ends up coming out on top in a lot of situations. At the end of the school year, they're in the final tests, I guess, which are the war games, and she ends up finding herself in really dangerous situations and discovering that the government of Navarre has been lying to the population, and there is a lot more going on in the war beyond the walls of Navarre than she originally thought. There are creatures called Venin and Wyvern who were thought to be these folkloric characters, but they're real and they are sucking the power from the world and are coming to destroy everything and everyone in their wake. And Violet ends up in this crazy battle with them. And at the end, it turns out that there's actually a revolution being built outside the walls of Navarre, and her brother, who she thought was dead, is part of it. And him and Xaden are leading this revolution, and Violet decides to join them.
Wow, that was so good. That was so good for On the Fly. That was, you know what? You actually, you recapped the book fully.
Yeah.
All the important points. Yeah. You killed it.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you on the spot more often.
Okay. Oh, boy. Okay.
No, I think you really did well. That was awesome.
Great. So, yeah, that was Fourth Wing, and I adored it, and it made me feel a lot of feelings. Mm-hmm. I laughed. I cried. I was giddy. But yeah, no, it's a great book. So I'm excited to see where this journey continues. How did you feel about the book?
I mean, I loved it. I read it for the third time doing the podcast with you. So, you know, it's
almost goes without saying that you liked
it. Yeah, it goes without saying that I loved it. I mean, to the point where that's the book that I suggested that we do.
Yeah.
That's how much I loved it. I was going to say I encouraged a lot of my friends to read it as well, but I actually didn't. I think I encouraged a lot of my friends to go more into SJM first.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of them have been reading.
But a lot of them have been reading it because of us. Yeah. But yeah, so no, I loved it.
Are you ready to jump into the depths of the flames? The iron flames?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Okay. Let's go. Let's hear our synopsis. The first synopsis of Iron Flame of Season 2 of the Book Bound Besties podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm Myriam and I'm Elyse. Two friends from the
that plays in my head more often than I care to admit. Anyway. Chapter 1. Picking up where we left off, Violet is in Eratia eating breakfast in the company of her brother. There is an important assembly he must attend, and Violet decides to eavesdrop. They must find a way to gather more weapons against the Venin. It's clear that Violet's trust is a point of contention in the group, but Xaden's trust in her is unwavering and dismisses the meeting. This is Violet's chance to finally chat with Brennan before going off and deciding what path she will take for her future.
Yep. Iron Flame has the little pre-chapter blurbs the same way Fourth Wing did. So the one for chapter 1 is from Public Notice 628.85, transcribed by Sorella Neilwort. We can assume that this woman has some sort of relation to Jesinia because they have the same last name.
Oh, good catch. I did not catch that.
Thank you very much. Reading comprehension. Tick.
Yes.
In this, the 628th year of our unification, it is hereby recorded that Eurasia has been burned by dragon in accordance with the treaty ending the separatist movement. Those who fled survived, and those who did not remain entombed in her ruins. But did they?
Yeah, I was going to say, so how truthful is this one?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're continuing with the themes of erasure and censorship, so...
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be, now that our narrator has had the veil kind of lifted, this is definitely going to be a sticking point and a point of conflict for her internally.
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of the book.
Yeah.
So like Elyse said in her synopsis, the chapter opens with Violet and Brennan talking and eating cookies. And it's kind of awkward because neither one of them really knows each other. When you think about it, you really grow up a lot in 6 years, but especially in the 6 years that like they've missed from each other.
Yeah.
On her end in particular, because she really became an adult. She became a young woman. And so she's like munching and she's like, oh, these cookies are really good. And we kind of get a recap of what happened in Fourth Wing, but it's presented really well. Kind of like Violet processes her information. She's kind of just like processing everything that happened. Something to note. We talked at the end of Fourth Wing about the scar and the color of the scar.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if like we're picking too much into it about the color of the scar because she just says there's a scar. She doesn't notice the color of the scar the same way she did with Xaden's scars.
Right.
But Xaden, at the end of Fourth Wing,
Noticed
her scar being silver the same way she described his scars. So, I'm not sure if we're just trying to, like, burrow deep into this and, like, look for little nuggets of information or if we're really just, like...
Right.
Yeah. While she's eating, she's checking in with Taryn, and she reaches for the bond with Andarna, but she can't picture what color that bond is. Point is, it's not gold. So, is this important? What does this mean? What did you think when you first were reading this?
I just thought she was sleeping. So, and we knew because of the way the Fourth Wing ended, we knew that she grew. So I was like, oh, okay, Andana's going through some changes. So I wasn't too concerned about the color in this moment. I was concerned about it later and actually really sad. But anyway.
Okay. Put a pin in that. So the siblings have this exchange about how awkward the situation is, and in the most typical older siblings fashion, Brennan's like, you're welcome for mending you, by the way. Like this passive aggressiveness, I do this to my siblings all the time.
Yeah, I think that's just part of siblinghood. Yeah, siblinghood.
Yeah. But we also learned that Violet slept through her 21st birthday, which is, it's a shame. I'm trying to think back to my 21st birthday, and I think it might have been the one where the Facebook event was called Blackout Mimi.
Nice.
Yeah, and lived up to the hype.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So like Justin's best friend, all the time, like anytime we have a wedding or something, he's like, oh, is Blackout Mimi coming? I was like, no. Blackout Mimi, that was a one and done. That's not happening again. Like my birthday's in December and I'll never forget, like at one point, I don't know why I left. We were at this club. Well, it was like a supper club place. And so I left it. I went around the corner and I sat on a stoop in the middle of winter in a skirt and like a t-shirt. And I was just like, this is where I'm going to die. Oh no. I was just like, I'm just going to close my eyes. I'm just going to drift off. Oh. It was so brutal. And then like someone found me and then I don't really know what happened. I think by then I was like really... Yeah. That was the end of the night for me. No. I remember Justin putting me in a cab and I remember waking up at my mom's apartment and that's it.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. That is rough. I can't. I've never been blackout because I get sick before getting to
I got sick. Apparently I got sick in the cab. Actually, I don't think I got sick at my mom's. But I do know, like, because the next morning, Justin told me, he's like, your mom was so mad at me. She's like, what did you do to her? And he's like, she did this to herself.
It was her choice.
Yeah, poor Justin.
That's really funny. Oh.
Anyway, Bodhi interrupts this conversation and he calls Brennan Lieutenant Colonel S2E1. So he hands him a missive from Basgiath, and this must mean that there's a full-on network of spies And Basgiath has been infiltrated by Xaden and crew.
Yeah, I mean, right away, because he says as he's handing it over, he's like, oh, another rider's coming from Basgiath. And I was like, who else is in on this?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm just so excited to discover more about this, like, network of, like, revolutionaries and just, like, who's involved, what are they up to? Like, this is so exciting. I love it. I'm very excited about it.
So Brennan leaves Violet to attend the assembly meeting that you mentioned earlier, but he promises to take her to her dragons after. And Violet's like, listen, I've been left in the dark way too long. I'm going to figure shit out. Like, I'm not just going to be stuck on the sidelines. So she decides to explore the castle, ?
Yeah.
We learn that it's actually part home, part fortress, part palace. And we discover how huge it is. And it's actually not only really well taken care of, but it's well loved. There's art, there's carpets. We get a real sense of the contrast between Basgiath, that's very harsh and fortress-like and, you know, whatever, with Ryerson House, which is also a fortress, but, you know, also really warm and...
It's welcoming and there's art and there's,
Exactly.
It's really nice.
Yeah. As she's exploring, she overhears Brennan's voice and notices that Bodhi and Imogen are hiding outside the room, eavesdropping on the conversation. And I wanted to take a second just to describe the people in the meeting because I found it confusing. So I just thought it would be really, I don't know, interesting to kind of like parse them out. So there are 7 people there. We have Brennan, who is pacing.
There's 5 people there. There are 7 in the assembly total.
Well, I counted, okay.
That's what I wrote based on what I read, but maybe I'm wrong.
I have understood the same thing, and then when I started listing out the people...
There's 7.
I think so. So 1 is Brennan. We'll see if I can count. I'm an accountant. We've already established that sometimes I have issues, but with numbers and reading comprehension does not bode well for me, but whatever. Brennan, 1. Then we have Hawknose, 2. And Hawknose is an older man with an eye patch. And Violet is really brutal with his description. She says, quote, tufts of thinning gray hair frame the deep lines in his lightly tanned, weathered skin. His jowls hanging down like a wildebeest. He leans back in his chair, placing a thick hand on his rounded belly.
It's a great description. I mean, brutal, yes, but great.
Yeah, I really can picture him. We learn that this guy is Major Ferris. So we have Hawknose, a.k.a. Major Ferris, is number 2. 3, we have Xaden, who's leaning against a massive chair. 4 is a petite woman with black hair who Brennan calls Trissa. 5 is a blonde woman built like a battle axe. 6 is a large man with ebony skin and a silver beard, Felix. And 7 is Suri, a brunette with olive skin and a single streak of silver hair.
Lots of silver hair in this party.
Yeah. So there's 7.
7. Crazy. Yeah. Just after that, Violet goes into a bit more of a description. She's like watching Xaden and just like talking about him. And the way she was talking about him, I actually momentarily forgot they weren't together anymore. And then I remembered because she remembers and it made me so sad. I was like, oh no, we're back to square one. Like,
well, we're not really back to square one.
I know, but I forgot.
Yeah.
And like the way she was describing him, because she always has these great descriptions of him, you know, makes us fall in love right along with her. And then it was like, oh yeah, they're not together anymore.
I feel like they're in relationship no man land. I don't think they're actually not together.
Okay, fair.
Like they haven't actually broken up. They're just in a rough patch.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
Bodhi gives us a lowdown that in an assembly meeting, they only need a quorum of 5 to call a vote and 4 votes carry a motion. And this meeting, we learn, is to discuss whether the cadets will return to Basgiath, which was a question that you had towards the whole latter half, not latter half, but the last couple episodes of season 1. Then the conversation kind of shifts to discussing a luminary. And we don't really know what this is, but it seems important. And we know that a Viscount Tecarus has one. And Violet informs us that there are no Viscounts in the Navarian aristocracy. So we can assume that this guy's Paromish. Also, side note, you were saying that whenever you hear Paromiel, you're like, I want to say Paromiel.
Yeah.
Well, the audiobook calls it Paromiel.
Okay.
So it's even different.
Names are hard to just know how to pronounce. So.
Yeah. Xaden tells the assembly that Tecarus collects things. Park. In their discussion, we learn that if they cannot supply the Griffin Riders with enough weaponry, the tide of the war is going to shift too far in the Venon's favor within a year, which is a lot faster than we thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrifying. And like the Venom are terrifying. I was listening back to, or maybe it was editing an episode or something, and the description of like them sucking up the power and like the bodies like husking, turning into husks, and it's just like, anyway, we do not want that to happen.
No, we definitely do not. So Violet's watching all this, eavesdropping on all this, and she notices that Brennan and Xaden are clearly in cahoots. They seem to be really aligned on the way forward with the war, and they seem to be aligned also in terms of like values, and overall they're on the same page. And it's kind of sad for Violet because she realizes that Xaden knows her brother better than she does.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is something that I think you kind of come to terms with. Like sometimes, you know, I'll have like conversations with my sister or my brother, and there are definitely people, even though these people are my siblings and I grew up with them and they will always be in my life and, you know, whatever. But there are people who know a side of them that I will never know. And I think that you kind of have this like natural realization when these people are in your life all the time versus Violet, who kind of gets hit in the face with the realization.
Yeah.
Because Brennan hasn't been in her life for the last 6 years, but has been in Xaden's life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think in this situation too, it's just like almost like throwing salt in the wound that, you know, like not only she's mad that Xaden kept the secret from her and it was like literally about her brother, which is like a huge moment in her life, losing her brother. But now it's like, oh, and they get along so well and they know each other so well. So it's like an extra layer of like, oh my God, like I understand her being upset and having trouble just getting past it.
For sure. And if we had an award for most frustrating line, it would be when she's like talking to Taryn in her head about like all this. And she goes, don't bring logic into an emotional argument. Who are you, Violet? Like this is something Elyse and I have talked like off mic about after both of us having read the first 5 chapters, because Elyse, this is not I guess it's kind of I don't know. There's miscommunication in this book, okay? There's a lot of miscommunication in this book. Yeah. And this is Elise's least favorite trope.
It's so illogical that it upsets me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I understand a misunderstanding and it helps keep, you know, plots interesting or whatever, but like fully like stubborn miscommunication is just the dumbest thing to me. I don't have patience for it in real life. So anyway, we'll see how it goes in the book.
But all this to say, we also talked about how Violet kind of like, we'll talk about it a little bit more, I think particularly in like chapter 4, but she kind of like is different in Iron Flame than she was in Fourth Wing. And this line to me is a perfect example of it. And I feel I need to make like 5 million caveats to whatever I say here. Like it makes sense that she's changed, right? Her entire worldview has totally shifted and she has no idea what's going on and left is right and right is left and up is down and, you know, whatever. But Violet is an extremely logical person. She's a super smart person. She's a person who processes information and who trained her whole life to be a scribe. So her saying, don't bring logic into an emotional argument, like, what? Who are you?
Yeah,
that's not you.
Goes against what we've seen of her in the first book. And yeah, it's like she's shifting towards becoming a very reactive person instead of being the logical person that she has been in the beginning. And like you said, maybe it's because of like, okay, these are big life changes, these are big reveals or whatever, but yeah, it's hard to...
Yeah, but the thing is also, like, she says it at the end of Fourth Wing that just because she doesn't trust Xaden or whatever, like, doesn't mean she doesn't think what he's doing is right. Or I can't remember the exact wording, but that was her being heard. That was her bringing logic.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
We shall see.
Yeah. Brennan shuts down the possibility of stealing Besguyeth's forging device, which we can now infer is the tool
luminary?
No, the forging device and the luminary, I believe, are 2 different things.
Oh, I thought it was the same thing.
You might be right.
Oh, boy. Okay. We will see.
But I'm assuming that the forging device is what they used to create the weapons and then smuggle them to the Griffin Riders.
For some reason, I thought that is what the luminary was.
We'll find out, I guess. Basically, Brennan's opposition to stealing the forging device is that it would leave Navarre defenseless. So you're really getting to see his values, that even though he completely disagrees with the Navarrian way, that doesn't mean he's vengeful or...
Yeah, he doesn't want to destroy it. He still wants to keep those people safe as well. It's just there's so many more people out there that he doesn't agree with closing off Navarre and it being the only safe zone, you know?
Exactly. The conversation then goes back to the issue of going back to Basgiath, and Violet has this really sick realization that they're supposed to be finishing the war games, and she's hit with another wave of grief for Liam. And mid-conversation, the eavesdroppers are discovered.
Yeah.
And then things get real awkward. I love in this moment how Bodhi, king of my heart. Well, actually, I mean, I love you, Bodhi, but Xaden's king of my heart. Yeah. Bodhi and Imogen stick up for Violet.
Yeah.
And we get a little snippet that I want you to park for later.
Okay.
Imogen says, yeah, Elyse is going to take notes.
Yeah, I know.
Every time I say park, she like writes it down.
I want to write it down because I felt like last time I didn't properly park things and I need to take notes. That's all.
Imogen says, quote, Xaden has already taken responsibility for her, as brutal of a custom as it may be.
I wrote that quote down and wrote, what? Like, what custom? What is happening? Anyway.
You're going to find out.
Good.
Just not for a while. The debate continues around Violet, with members of the assembly debating her loyalty to the cause versus her loyalty to Navarre, and Violet gets super frustrated with being spoken about rather than spoken to, and she confronts the assembly, and I love, with a capital LOVE, when Violet makes her little speech standing up for herself.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Chef's kiss. Perfection.
Yeah. I mean, it's the worst when people are talking about you when you're right there and like addressing it as if you're not. It's like,
and making decisions about your own life.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I need to be involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, I was glad she stood her ground and, showed them who she really is.
Absolutely. So Felix, Mr. Silverbeard, sticks up for her, and Brennan adjourns the meeting. They're like, okay, end of discussion, ciao, bye. Xaden then suggests that Violet stays and talks with Brennan rather than rushing off to see the dragons. And I just find in this moment, again, Xaden's leadership is so strong because he says, quote, we won't leave without you, and we're not going to let the assembly dictate what we do. The 8 of us will decide what we do together. So this is, again, last time they were in battle, or last time there was a big decision to be made, he did the same thing.
Which, again, it goes against kind of the structure that Navarre has set up for their military. Xaden is very like...
consensus.
Yeah, all for one and one for all, whereas Navarre is like, no, you need your rank, and you only listen, and you don't question, and which the you don't question falls in line perfectly with censorship and control of people. So, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. The chapter concludes with Violet facing her brother, prepared to ask him about the events of basically the past 6 years. Yeah. Awards. Do you have 3 awards? Mm-hmm. Oh, I only have 2. Okay.
That's okay.
What is your most romantic line?
The dark eyes that usually soften whenever they meet mine, which is one of the ways Violet is describing Xaden.
Aww. Mine is a Xaden line about Violet, and it's when he says she's worth a dozen of me, and I'm not talking about her signet.
So cute.
I know. What's your funniest line?
And what would you have done with the knowledge had he shared it? Taryn asks. Stop bringing logic into an emotional argument.
That's so funny.
That I thought it was funny.
That you thought it was funny, and I thought it was super frustrating, yeah. Okay, spiciest line.
I went sassy.
Same.
What do you want from me? I asked them striding into the room. Want me to walk the parapet and prove my bravery? Done. Want me to betray my kingdom by defending Peromish citizens? Done. Want me to keep his secrets? I gestured towards Xaden with my left hand. Done. I keep every secret.
Then someone was like a real caca. Yeah. I can't remember who it was, like one of the assembly members, but they're like, oh, except the most important secret. Whatever.
It's so frustrating. And like they kind of discuss it too. Like they're like, oh, well, no first year could defend against a mind reader. Whatever,
I think Felix, the one who sticks up for Violet, he's the one that says that.
Yeah, but it's just, anyway, it's time to learn.
Yeah,
and let's move past this.
Yeah. Okay, my spiciest line is, she's standing right here, so stop talking about me and try talking to me. Mm-hmm. Which is...
Snaps for Violet.
Snaps for Violet.
Okay, chapter 2. Brennan and Violet have a heart-to-heart over what's been happening the past 6 years and discuss war strategies. Outside, Violet is in for a big surprise when she goes to find Andarna. The crew collectively decide they are heading back to Basgiath, and Xaden has a plan for graduation.
Can't wait to jump into this.
No.
The pre-chapter blurb says, it is the valley above Ryerson House heated by natural thermal energy that is its greatest asset. For there lie the original hatching grounds of the Dubmadin line, from which 2 of the greatest dragons of our time, Coda and Tarn, descend. And this is Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind.
Yeah. Have we heard of Coda before?
Yes, Coda is General Melgren's dragon.
Oh, okay. I thought so. I thought I recognized it, and then I couldn't remember, and I didn't look it up. So I'm always a bit hesitant to look up things.
Yeah.
Because
Don't
I'm
ask me
afraid,
questions.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I'll be your filter.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, it's the same thing with so it's Elyse is reading Throne of Glass. Finally. And she was asking about fan art. Like, she wanted to see what the characters looked like. I was like, do not look anything up. I will send you all the fan art you need.
Yeah. I wanted to picture, like, I wanted to see what other people picture them as, because obviously as you're reading, you start to form pictures in your mind. But yeah, anyway, so thank you for sending me this.
Yeah, my pleasure. I need to protect your experience at all costs. Like, I was looking at fan art. I wasn't even looking at fan art. It was just became my explore page on Instagram. And I saw 2 pieces of fan art that, like, one was a spoiler that actually ended up being a spoiler. And so I was kind of on edge. Like, I didn't know how it would happen, but, like, I knew something was going to happen to my character. And then the other one was semi-spoiler for a really intense moment that actually was the first moment that made me cry in Kingdom of Ash. But it wasn't what I actually thought it was.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So ever since then, I'm like, no fan art.
Yes.
Okay. Into chapter 2 of Iron Flame.
Yes.
Violet has now processed enough of what the situation is, and she's kind of has enough context clues to be able to start asking her brother the 5 million questions that are on her mind. And Brennan revels over how he had always pictured her in scribe colors, but she looks good in black. And then he drops this little tidbit that he was super relieved to find out that she survived threshing. And my question is, who told him?
Well, could have been Satan.
Could have been anyone.
Yeah, I guess it could have been anyone. I just kind of assumed it was Satan. I'm like, yeah, he gets all his info from Satan.
Yeah, maybe. You might be right.
But it could have been someone else, I guess.
Yeah. And then they talk about Mira and the armor in the Book of Brennan.
But before that, there's a little moment where Nolan is brought up.
Oh. And Nowlin? Or Nolan?
Oh.
2 characters. Nolan is the healer. I think we're talking
Nowlin.
about Nowlin.
Nowlin, the previous rider.
Yeah.
And the way he responds, because we had talked about it way back.
Yes.
When the way he responds, I was like, yes, they were totally lovers. Well, like, not even a question. At first, in Fourth Wing, I would say, like, maybe. Like, it kind of feels like it could have been that.
Yeah.
But the way he responds in this moment, oh my God, like, it feels like they were very much closer than just friends.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, she's asking him about his life and, you know, all these things. And she asks, is he married and does he have kids? And he says no partner.
Oh, good point also.
So this is something, I don't know, not really controversial or whatever, but, like, some people, like my aunt, for example, is divorced, met her boyfriend, like, in her 40s, and she refers to him as her partner. Like, some people feel like it's a more mature way of referring to someone than your boyfriend, but in my opinion, the more conventional use of the term partner is for a, like, same-sex couple. Yeah. So that could be
I would say that's the more commonly used, for sure. But there's definitely people who use it just to describe their partner.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, I'm not in my 40s, but I was with my boyfriend for a really long time before we got engaged, and I, at one point, was like, this feels really dumb.
To call him boyfriend.
To call you my boyfriend.
Yeah. Which is funny because in Quebecois culture, in French, everyone says my boyfriend or my girlfriend.
Even if they're married.
Even if they're married, which, to be honest, in Quebec, is not the most common practice.
To get married.
Yes. People will find partners and, like, remain with their life partners, but the actual practice of getting married is not super common.
That is true. I think for the generation above us.
Yeah.
Like, our generation, I think, is getting married.
I agree. But it's just because I do work in French television on the Quebecois side, and, like, most people are like, have kids and everything, like, have a married life without the actual convention. So
yeah, it's true. Little culture. That was a little culture corner. Canadian culture corner. Quebecois.
Yeah. So they're discussing, like, why did Brennan leave and whatever, and Brennan reveals, like, he could not live with knowing the truth about Navarre.
Yes.
And knowing that they are hiding all this information, whatever, which is very telling of who he is as a person.
And Violet felt the exact same way. So we're seeing that they have a very similar moral compass.
But she still responds saying, you just left Mira and me to live it.
Which I understand. It's like Violet's first instinct was, does Mira know Or like her first instinct was to think of her sibling, right?
Yeah.
So she, because that's her first instinct and her desire is to have people know the truth, she takes it really personally that someone knew the truth, someone close to her knew the truth.
And chose not to tell her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in Brennan's defense, because he does give us the lowdown of how he survived, we find out that Nowlin did resuscitate him, but we don't really get into the details of that. We only find out that it cost him everything, and everything is italicized. What do you think that means?
What it cost?
No, what do you think when he says it cost him everything, and everything is italicized? It's emphasized. What do you think that means?
I don't know.
Okay, think about it. Because there are theories out there.
Yeah.
Do you want to know the theories? Like this is not a spoiler.
Yeah.
So there's a theory that when Brennan says that it cost Nowlin everything,
Yeah.
Nowlin became Venin. He did not die, but it cost him everything, i.e. it cost him his soul, it cost him his life, blah, 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 and that he became Venin.
That's so heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Get ready for this feeling. It's going to happen a lot in this book.
I want to see their love story.
Okay, well, we can't always get what we want.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nuts. I guess I just assumed it meant his life, in turn his dragon and everything. So
yeah, but if it meant his life, it would have said it cost him his life, not it cost him everything.
yeah, no, you're totally right. I just didn't think about it.
Yeah. So we find out that basically, like, this happens, he gets resuscitated, and then Marb, his dragon, Brennan's dragon, is super wounded. Super wounded. How am I speaking today? Anyway. And Brennan woke up on a cliffside near Ryerson House, and we learned that the dragons that saved them hid them in a network of caves within the valley. Park. Violet then hits pause on the conversation to analyze the map, because I guess in the room where the assembly meeting was happening, there was this giant map, and I want to take a second to talk about it. The southeast area, which is where the barrens are, is painted completely red. So is Breivik. Then we have flags in orange and red. The red ones are all over the eastern border of the Krovlin province and in the north as well. And the orange are concentrated around this like river. We learned that the red flags are from the last few years and the orange from the last few months. And things are getting hairy because Brennan actually thinks that they only have 6 months, not a year like was said in the meeting. Yeah.
Well, it'll make for an interesting book.
Yeah. Especially, I can tell you this, the book takes place over the course of 6 months.
Oh, well, there you go.
Brennan then tells us there's actually 2 breeds of wyvern, one that produces green fire and one that produces blue fire, but we don't really know the difference between them yet.
He didn't know.
I know. I wanted to go on a rant about this.
Okay, rant, because it upset me.
Okay, because somehow these people have been fighting Venin for 6 years and they didn't know about the wyvern until a few months ago. That's suspicious. Like, it can't be that the wyvern have only existed for 6 months, because Violet knew about them from her book of fables.
Exactly. So they've existed for a long time, and not only did they not know about the wyvern, but they didn't understand that it was the Venin channeling the power and making them. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that they didn't know.
That's exactly what it said. It's like they don't know that they're made, not hatched. And so I'm thinking, how is it possible that they are so uninformed?
Yeah.
Like, I get that the knowledge about them was forbidden, like the book that Violet had was forbidden, but come on.
Yeah. And also just knowing that they exist, that the Venin exist, and oh my goodness, there's wyvern or whatever, like the folklore that was passed down, though they have tried to abolish it, it still exists. So like Brennan grew up hearing about this.
Xaden grew up hearing about this.
You could assume everyone involved grew up hearing about it. Like Rhiannon brought it up. Like Rhiannon knew. I think someone else.
No, it was just Rhiannon.
It was just Rhiannon. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it was just like the knowledge was there.
Yep.
And like you would think if you're trying to do research into your enemies and try to figure out what's going on, like a spark would have ignited somewhere and be like, oh yeah, there used to be a book about this, or like, oh yeah, like it feels
or
insane.
They would have done research, like they would have delved deep, they would have gone to like all corners of
and
the universe to try to get more information.
Them before, like I don't know. It's just it felt very okay.
That was my rant.
Yeah, well ranted.
Thank you. They discuss the trajectory of the Venin attacks, and Brennan says that he thinks that the box at Resin was some sort of lure.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they destroyed this box because we thought at the end of Fourth Wing, we were told at the end of Fourth Wing, that Garrick's dragon, who had an affinity for runes, was going to try to like figure out what was in this box and what was so special about this box. Apparently not.
Well, maybe they did figure what they figured out was it was some sort of lure, and they didn't want to bring the venom to where they were. So
Yeah.
I would destroy it too.
I mean, that's a generous way of looking at it. Some people think, oh, was this like a retcon or
What's a retcon?
retcon means retroactive continuity. So it's when an author will like change something to make the story flow, but it'll contradict something that was said in past works.
Okay. Well,
Who knows?
could be.
Yeah. Violet asks her brother if he really thinks that the venom will attack Navarre after they go through Poromiel.
Poromiel.
You know, like I now in my notes type things out.
MEAL.
Oh, I wrote PO-RO-MEE-EL. I'm like phonetically spelling it for myself.
Yes, good.
And we find out that, yes, that's exactly what he thinks, because the energy in the hatching grounds of Biscayeth can sustain the venom for years. So that has to be a ton of energy, because if we think back at Resin, that venom just like touched the ground and everything kind of sucked away. So, and like you were saying,
are they like addicts though? Like they just need more power. Like they just crave it and need it and constantly search for it. Okay.
Yeah. Again, here we get the theme that, you know, you were talking about before about like media controlling the narrative. And we've been talking about this through all of Fourth Wing. Violet and Brennan reminisce on what their father had taught them. Quote, yeah, well, Dad always tried to tell us, in a world of dragon riders, griffin flyers, and dark wielders, it's the scribes who hold all the power. They put out the public announcements, they keep the records, they write our history. And Violet asks her brother if he thinks that the dad knew the truth, and he says that he chooses not to. Not to think that the dad. Yeah. Which, I mean.
But I mean, there's obviously evidence that he was figuring it out, right? Like, why else would he hide the book? Why else would he hide the message? Why was he acting weird? Like, I think, I mean, we'll find out, but I think there's a strong chance that he was trying to change things from within.
Yes.
As opposed to like Brennan's route was like, okay, I'm going to go on the other side, which is both are fair fights. But I just feel like there's already like Easter eggs leading to like the dad did know.
Yeah.
He was acting weird and he was trying to do things to preserve information and to, I mean, we'll find out. We don't know much about him, but you know.
Well, this does kind of support the theory that he was killed for knowing too much or for kind of spreading this information.
Nefarious, yes.
Yeah. The conversation then, they start talking about wards, because obviously what's protecting Navarre right now is the wards. And Brennan drops this little factoid that they, in Eratia, have a dormant wardstone.
Yeah.
And Violet's scribe brain starts worrying, and she's like, well, what if we could generate our own protection? Then we can, you know, weave wards over Poromiel, and we can protect more people, and blah, blah, blah. And that's when we learn that it would be useless without a luminary. So the luminary is...
I wrote down what it is, actually.
Okay, let's hear it.
I wrote down, so we learn a luminary intensifies dragon fire hot enough to smelt alloyed into the only weapons that could kill venom.
Okay, so you were right.
Yes, it's the forging device.
The forging device.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just use this single word?
Fantasy likes to give many names to one thing. So that it's par for the course.
Okay.
It's okay.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I thought like Violet, I mean, she's always been logical and her ideas aren't crazy, but like Brennan just shuts them down right away. He's like, no, that's not going to work. The only way it's going to work. Our only chance is to make more weapons. But it's like, okay, yes, but also maybe Violet's idea is not a bad one.
No,
and why
100%.
aren't we trying to do both? Because obviously you could barely keep up with the weapons. This might be a good alternative, or like work on both simultaneously. I don't know. It felt very like weird that he was like, no, it's not worth a shot. We're shutting that down. Only weapons. Like,
well, it makes me think, you know, when they say, when you're talking about like diversity and inclusion, they say, well, the benefit of diversity is not just like to give everyone a chance, but it's also because the ideas and the products and whatever that comes out of this diversity is always better, because you're getting people with different life experiences. Well, here you have a scribe, or you at the very least, you have an outsider who has not been part of this war for 6 years, who's like, do you really think you're going to win a war with daggers?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
Very good analogy.
Thank you. Then we get another tidbit that I want to park. Brennan tells her that something killed off the venom 600 years ago during the Great War, and we're actively searching for that weapon.
Yes, I wrote that down too.
Excellent. When Violet asks more questions about the revolution, Brennan tells her that it's best she doesn't know specifics until she can protect herself against Dane, which is fair. And, like, Violet has this interior monologue about love and loss. And this is the second time so far in the book, and you're going to, if you pay attention to this or even throughout the rest of this conversation, this is the second time where she talks about, like, feeling her power rise within her. So now that she's, like, fully unleashed her power, she's totally stepped into it, it's much more accessible to her.
Yeah.
So it's, like, kind of dangerous, but kind of, like...
Yeah, well, it also seems to be affected by her emotions a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
no, but that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which makes sense, like, the mom, when they were in the office or whatever.
Yeah, the temperature dropped. Yeah, that's a good point.
There's just, you know...
Yeah.
Runs in the family.
So I actually was wrong before. I was talking about how when we were talking about Naolin and Violet asked about the partner, whatever, it actually happened, like, at this point in the conversation. Not that it matters. Violet, after all of this, comes to the conclusion that they absolutely have to go back.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily what's best for her personally, because obviously there's a risk to her and the other riders if they go, but she thinks that this is what's best for everyone as a whole.
Yeah, she's not wrong.
So the scene changes, and they're now in front of Andarna, except she does not look like our little golden Stitch with legs anymore.
I know, that's why I was so sad.
She is twice the size that she had been before. She's got black scales. She's a teenager, and Violet is freaking out. She's like, is she your child to Taryn?
And Taryn's like, you already asked me. I would have told you, like, no.
Yeah, but I mean, he did lie to her for the whole fourth wing.
I guess.
She feels super guilty about the rapid growth. Obviously, it was due to the power usage. And we find out that there's actually 2 more black dragons that have hatched in the last year, which is very curious. Like, what does that mean? For the last 100 years, there have only been 2, and now, within the last few months, there's 2 more.
Bunch, yeah.
Yeah. Another little interesting tidbit is that Andarna still doesn't have her tail, which we find out is a choice. It's, like, based on a choice and need.
Oh, I missed that. That's weird.
Yeah. Okay. Like, Taryn has a morning star tail.
Oh, like the
scorpion tail, the dagger tail.
Okay, yes. We also learned that dragons, adolescent dragons, are, like, a lot like adolescent humans. So, like, they're moody and, like, just...
Don't respect their elders.
Yeah, it's going to be a ride, I think.
It's going to be so fun. Like, I can tell you from now, if
really?
you loved the Taryn and Violet relationship in Fourth Wing, add now, so you've got grumpy dad, you've got adult human, and now you're going to have grumpy teenager.
Yeah, I guess I was just a bit, like, mourning the loss of, like, the cute, like, because Andarna, she didn't talk a ton in the first book, but she'd always come in and just be, like, have all these, like, uplifting little, like, cute things to say. And so it'll be a very different vibe.
She's still, like, she offers a different type of relief, I would say, in this book. Like, she's still that kind of balancing factor in the equation, but just in a different way. Xaden approaches Violet, Taryn, and Andarna with the rest of the gang that survived the fight in Ressin, and it's awkward because Violet realizes that she doesn't know some of their names.
Yeah.
She's like, I fought with you. I went to battle with you.
Yeah.
Who are you? Yeah. Violet announces that she is convinced that they have to go back, and she insists that she doesn't think that her mother knew about the plot to kill them. And interestingly, Kieran, I confirm that's how you pronounce, like, the way that it was written, it was Kieran. Kieran sticks up for Violet, and the general, this is the guy who's grumbling about bringing her to Erasia. So, like, I don't know what changed for him in that moment, but the team, the gang, reaches consensus. They're going to go back to Biscayth, despite the risks, with a plan to avoid detection and strengthen Violet's mental shields. Yeah. They're like, okay, we're going to go back when Andarna wakes up.
At the end of all of that, Andarna wakes up. And right away she says she lost her power. So.
And she kind of, like, she's kind of testy with Violet, being like, I lost my power. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Teenage Andarna.
Yep.
But yeah, she lost her power, and then they realize also her harness doesn't fit her anymore.
That is true.
Whatever, tripled in size or whatever.
She's like a little Bambi. She can't really balance.
Yeah.
The shadow lassos come in handy.
So basically, yeah, Xaden has a plan. They're going to graduation, but they need to, like, gear up before they go. So.
Yeah, because they've got 48 hours until graduation. Dun, dun, dun! And then the chapter concludes with, they're like, okay, we got to get this show on the road.
Yeah.
Get the harness fixed up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Awards.
Most romantic line. Because love at its root is hope. Hope for tomorrow. Hope for what could be. Hope that someone you've entrusted your everything to will cradle and protect it. And hope that shit is harder to kill than a dragon.
Me too. I put the same thing, but I also
Yeah.
took the first part where she says, Turns out falling in love with someone only brings that blissful high all the poets talk about if they love you back. And if they, you know what? I don't even want to read that part because that part annoys me. The last part you read is the part that's the good part. Okay? So let's just say we picked the same one.
Perfect.
What's your funniest line?
She only tolerates me, though I'm growing on her like a tumor, she replies. So,
Me too?
So,
Two
really?
for two?
2 for 2? Oh
Okay,
my God.
what's your third?
I'm like scared.
Me too.
Mine's sassy.
Me
Spicy.
too.
Okay. Can you fly her back to the Vale? I asked Taryn. She's huge. I've killed lesser riders for that kind of insult.
Okay. We're 2 for 2. 2 for 2 is the best that we've done so far.
I know.
Mine is Violet and Brennan when she says, you've been back in my life for all of 5 minutes after faking your death for the last 6 years. So excuse me if I'm not going to suddenly open up about my love life. What about you? Are you married? Kids? Anyone you basically lied for the entirety of your relationship?
There you go. Sassy.
Sassy, sassy.
Chapter 3. They fly back to the Vale, and Violet continues to struggle with her feelings of betrayal from her inner circle. Giving Xaden an ultimatum, Violet demands full disclosure of his secrets, but he calls her bluff knowing their attraction is too strong. Violet is back with our favorite mantra of, I will not die today, as the crew steps out into the rotunda, revealing to the school that they are still alive and kicking.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it.
So badass.
Mm-hmm. The pre-chapter blurb is, there is no moment as rewarding, as stirring, as anticlimactic as a Rider's Quadrant graduation. It's the only time I've ever envied the infantry quadrant. Now those cadets know how to hold a ceremony. And this is Major Offrenda's Guide to the Rider's Quadrant, unauthorized edition.
What do the infantry do?
They have a ceremony.
I know, but like, if they're jealous of that, I want to know.
I think it's just the fact that they even have a ceremony. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like they just know how to party. I don't know.
Yeah. So the gang lands at Basgiath at night to stealthily get Andarna back, and we get a data dump that is very, very important.
Okay.
Wink, wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Taryn informs us that, quote, it's a delicate balance. The first 6 riders were desperate to save their people when they approached the dens over 600 years ago. Those dragons formed the first Empyrean and bonded humans only to protect their hatching grounds from Venin, who were the bigger threat. We don't exactly have opposable thumbs for weaving wards or runes. Neither species has ever been entirely truthful, both using the other for their own reasons and nothing more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels very transactional, the way he puts it. I was like, I thought they were friends.
Important things to note in here. The first 6 riders, this is going to be a topic that comes up a lot. Mm-hmm. And this is really giving us that history of dragon riding and, you know, world building that we didn't really get in Fourth Wing. Mm-hmm. Park, as I like to say.
I'm going to have a parked file.
I think you should.
That's what I'm doing.
Or even like a tab that's just a park tab.
Park tab.
Taryn, so like Violet is having so many feelings, kind of like you said, and she's, you know, a little bit dramatic for my liking. And Taryn is like, I can't do anything about having kept secrets from you, but I'll answer your questions from here on out. He's trying to like move forward and make things better in the future. Mm-hmm. And Violet's like, I know. And like, I want to discuss her conflicting feelings because I feel like they're valid, but I'm a little bit annoyed about her logic of who she can forgive and who she can't forgive.
Okay.
Because like she thinks, well, I can forgive Taryn because he's mated to Sigale, and Sigale is loyal to Xaden. So, like, that's why I can forgive him. And I can forgive Andarna because she's a baby, and so she's just following the adults. Mm-hmm. But I can't forgive Xaden.
Mm-hmm. She's just pinning it all on Xaden.
I know, and it's really annoying me.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
To me, it's all or nothing. You're mad at all of them, or you forgive all of them. It's just not fair.
Yeah. I mean, she has a different relationship with all of them.
But it's equally as intimate.
I just think overall she's taking it way too personally. Like when you actually step back and consider what the situation is, she's taking it too personally when the actual situation is so not a personal attack.
Exactly. Just super immature and I don't like it. Violet then asks Taryn to ask Sigale, to ask Xaden, and to Doctor, and it's
I'm not an owl.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. I see that scene in my mind every single time this happens.
Yeah.
Turns out Violet thinks that using their mind connection is too intimate, which I'm just like, ugh.
I know.
Get over yourself. Mm-hmm. And then she asks, so like all of this one asking the other to ask the other is just so that she can ask Xaden if they have any scribes that are loyal to the rebellion. And Xaden says no. Park. Violet and Xaden start to have a state of their relationship talk, but Violet is not ready for this. And obviously, this is not the time. Like, this is a high-stakes moment. They're back in enemy territory.
Yeah.
They just have to hope that they can swing this deception that, you know, they've got planned. Otherwise, they are toast.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, Xaden is, like, trying, like, he's being cute and, like, whatever, and she's, like, keeps shutting it down, despite, like, totally dying inside.
I know.
Anyway, we'll see how long it lasts. But the thing I wanted to bring up is Violet weirdly has hope that, like, Dane somehow wasn't involved. Like, she still is holding on to this hope for Dane, and I'm seriously, like, racking my brain to try to piece together what his redemption could be. And I'm coming up blank. Like, I'm still so mad at the guy, and I don't understand how she, like, okay, yeah, you have a history and you were best friends, but, like, he has been
a terrible friend.
Terrible pretty much all through Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
Like, from chapter, like, 3 and beyond, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, man. I don't know. I'm so curious. I'm actually hoping that they try to redeem him in Iron Flame. I'm very curious to see how that would be.
My lips are sealed.
Because I, at the moment, do not feel he is redeemable.
Interesting. Okay. You'll find out at some point. They rush to the dorms, and Violet tears through Liam's room to find the letters that he kept for Sloane, his sister. And as they leave, they bump into Rhiannon and Riddick, who they break the news to. And they ask Rhiannon to hold on to the letters in case something happens to them, because she knows that since Rhiannon's family doesn't, like, burn the things, like the loved ones things, like, she's safe. And I'm just like, oh, well.
I know.
Rhiannon is like, what do you need? She's so great.
Like, not even asking, just knowing she needs to be there for her friend and doing the thing without asking questions because she trusts her that much. Like, it's such a great friendship.
I know. It's exactly what you were saying last season. You were saying, like, if you need me, know that you can come to me vibes, you know? It's very much like that. Then the Russin clan, I don't know how we're going to refer to, like, that crew. They try to blend in, and they reach the rotunda unnoticed. You know, they're in a crowded hallway with all the other riders. And Violet turns to Xaden, and she's like, how do you do it? How do you lie to the people you care about? And he's like, I don't. There's an art to selective truth-telling.
Yeah.
And he's like, and if you can't do that, you have to keep your distance from people. And she chooses in this moment, this high-stakes moment, to start asking questions like, how long did he know about Brennan? And it turns out that it was for the whole 6 years. But Violet's surprised that he didn't dodge the question, and they talk about him giving her answers, and she's like, I don't run from the truth, no matter how hard it is, like, or what the cost is. And my heart broke. If we had a most heartbreaking line, it would be, yeah, well, it cost me you. And then he tries to, like, walk back. He's like, oh, I didn't mean that. It's like, no!
You said it. You meant it.
Violet then confronts him about his earlier promise to reveal all secrets and demands complete honesty going forward. Okay, get ready for rant number 2 of the episode.
Oh boy, okay.
Violet and Xaden have a tiff about the promise he made at the end of Fourth Wing that he'd answer all her questions. Yeah. And he kind of recants, and he's like, okay, but, like, I'll answer all your questions about myself.
Yeah, not about the revolution.
Yeah. Like, I get it. We've been saying this forever. It's bigger than the two of them. He's the leader of an entire revolution. He has more responsibilities than just her. My heart breaks for this boy because he even tells her, like, I want you to ask. I want you to get to know me. Yeah. I want you to trust me even though I can't tell you everything. Yeah. Like, that, to me, speaks volumes. Yeah. I'm sure he wishes that he could be completely honest with her and tell her absolutely everything.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not for a lack of desire or a lack of trust or whatever. It's literally because he knows that he needs to put his needs behind the needs of everybody else. Like, it's so unselfish.
I know. And Violet is being selfish with this situation. Yeah. Like, she needs to, whatever. Maybe it's just, like, she needs time to process it or whatever. But can she speed it up? Because it's ridiculous.
Anyway. I know. So then this is when she gives him the ultimatum, and she says, without complete and utter honesty and full disclosure, she is going to get busy falling in love with him.
I know. And he's like, good luck with that. I tried it for a good 5 months. Let me know how it works out for you. So, like, I love that he's still through all of this, and, like, she is throwing shit at him, and he's just, like, still keeping that, like, cute little flirty edge.
So they are now interrupted by the sound of the death roll, and they proceed to formation, revealing that they're still alive to the surprise of everyone present. Yeah. And We should have known. I said this multiple times in Fourth Wing. Xaden, king of the dramatic entrance.
Yeah, he loves the dramatic entrance, and there you go.
Yeah.
Delivers a great one.
Yeah, they make their dramatic entrance as their names are being called on the death roll, and Xaden calls out, well, this is awkward.
Yeah.
How happy are you that we're doing 5 chapters instead of 3? Because this would have been a terrible place. I mean, it would have been a great place, but a terrible place
to end. Yes, awards.
Awards.
Most romantic line. So Violet says that she loves Taryn, and then Taryn responds by saying, do not take unnecessary risk. But it was like his way of saying, I love you too.
Yeah.
Without directly saying it.
Very cute. Mine is, good luck with that. I tried it for a good 5 months. Let me know how it works out for you. Xaden telling her she can't fall. Unfall.
Unfall for.
Or fall out of love with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Impossible.
Impossible.
Funniest line. Maybe you should work on your own landings before taking our bonded on a flight to meet Malik.
Same.
Yeah.
What's your spiciest?
And we're not intimate, he lifts his brow, because I could think of more than one occasion that you've been wrapped around.
Ooh!
Whoop.
I did a spicy sassy.
Yeah.
And it's Violet saying, it never occurred to me to hide anything from you. And she says that to Taryn.
Chapter 4. Shock and awe falls over the rotunda as it is revealed that our crew did in fact survive the war games. Xaden spins a tale of selective truths while Violet backs it up. Colonel Aetos calls the bluff, but can't back it up without revealing the truth that hides behind the walls. The story is accepted, but it's clear they'll have to watch their backs. Graduation commences, and Violet and her friends officially become second years.
Yeah. The pre-chapter blurb is, as dragons ferociously guard both their young and any information regarding their development, only 4 facts are known about the dreamless sleep. First, it is a critical time of rapid growth and development. Second, the duration varies from breed to breed. Third, as the name suggests, it is dreamless. And fourth, they wake up hungry. And this is Colonel Coyote's Field Guide to Dragonkind. Mm-hmm. So like you said, they make their way, I thought it was the courtyard where formation is held.
I wrote again rotunda, so
okay, small detail. Who knows?
I don't know.
Send us a DM or an email.
Yeah.
So they make their way to the courtyard. Everyone is shocked. Violet makes eye contact with her mom, who is undeniably proud. Question mark, question mark, question mark. But it clearly means she wasn't in on the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, like, Violet slowly detects just from the way she's behaving that she wasn't involved. It makes me feel a
lot better.
But about the situation.
So Captain Fitzgibbons, who's the one who reads the death roll, is surprised to see Xaden alive because he and Violet were on the death roll.
Yeah.
And now this is when shit hits the fan. Lilith in front of everyone. So keep in mind, they've got leadership. They've got the whole Riders Quadrant. Lilith is like, why were they reported on the death roll? And, Papa Aetos is going to get into trouble.
Yep. Yeah, basically proving that the apple does not fall far from the tree. We see all the shitty sides of Colonel Aetos, and he says, quote, they've been missing for 6 days. Aetos sees his voice rising with each angry word. Naturally, we reported them dead, but obviously we should have reported them for desertion and dereliction of duty instead. Like, excuse you?
I know. He gets super defensive in all of this.
Yeah.
And kind of like that quote suggests, kind of goes on the attack.
Yeah.
But that's when Xaden starts weaving his story about his selective truth about the Griffin attack and blah, blah, blah. And Lilith accepts this. She, asks her daughter to tell her side of the story. And this is when Violet's like, oh, my mom. Like, all moms know when you're lying.
Yeah.
What I was saying in our episode 13 about how I'm an excellent liar, except for this story with Facebook. My mother is the one who caught me in this lie.
Right.
But anyway, so Violet tells the whole story and she tells the selective truths and she leans on the emotional moments and blah, blah, blah. Colonel Aetos disputes their account, but General Sorrengail dismisses his doubts, orders the correction of the death roll and the continuation of the graduation proceedings, but she gives him shit in front of everyone. Yeah. She humiliates him.
Yeah, which is in the moment, yay, but also oh no. Because you know he's gonna come back.
Well, what did I say? I remember saying this about Jack Barlow, one of our, maybe episode 8, I can't quite remember, that nothing is more dangerous than a man with a hurt ego.
And
take
case
note.
in
Park,
point,
park.
case in point.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it in the next chapter, but yeah.
Exactly. I just want to point out the utter nerve on Colonel Aetos for calling out the lies. Like, this whole scene is so chaotic. There's all this happening, like, at the front, in front of everyone. There's the entire Riders Quadrant, like, listening in. These people have no shame. I mean, Aetos doesn't, but it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine this. Like, this is so not in line with what I picture the military or any organization, really.
I know.
Like, at the very least, they could have, like, gone off to a corner.
Well, it's just even the fact, like, okay, Colonel Aetos is obviously in on the whole Venom situation because he's the one who sent them off to the death.
And potentially called the Venom there, lured them there.
Yeah. So knowing all of this, like, it's just insane to me that in seeing them, he didn't, like, put on a face and be like, oh, wow, you survived, and then continue to plot their demise. Like, that's what a good villain would do. This is a lame-ass villain.
Yeah, he's not a great villain.
Oh, baby.
Then he threatens Violet and Xaden, being like, we both know you weren't taken off mission by Griffins. Papa Aetos is playing a dangerous, dangerous game. Dangerous game.
Dangerous, yeah.
So now that we've dealt with Aetos Sr., it's time to deal with our favorite stain, Dane the Pain.
And what's the first thing he does?
Violet!
Yes, he goes to touch her face.
Yeah.
But Violet is not having it. She shuts that shit down right away. She, like, yells at him, like, touch me again.
And
like,
I'll cut your fucking hands off and let the quadrant sort you out in the next round of challenges, Dane Aetos.
Yeah.
Boom.
And, like,
Xaden is amused by this.
oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
But it's so insane to me that at this point, he still is, would still try to touch her.
Okay, but does this not maybe drop, like, a seedling of doubt for you?
That he was involved.
Yeah.
That wasn't involved. Yeah, it did. It crossed my mind, but I'm choosing not to
Dwell on that too much?
dwell on it, and I'm still angry at him.
Okay.
I'm being stubborn.
That's okay, you're allowed.
But no, it did cross my mind. When he did it, I was like, oh, maybe he didn't give info, but like
he did and he didn't realize the repercussions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But still, it's ignorant, and I still don't know how well I could forgive it. But anyway.
I kind of like that in this whole situation, even though they're not, like, doing well as a couple, Violet and Xaden are still acting like a team. And that is one of the things, like, which, between me and Justin, like, yes, we are a couple, but we always tell each other, like, we are a team. And, like, we act like teammates, or, like, sometimes if we get into a fight or one of us behaves in a way that's, like, not very nice to the other or whatever, we're like, you're being a bad teammate. Like, that's how we refer to it, because I think, like, that's kind of how you have to...
I mean, you are a team.
You are a team. Like, you have to think about that in life. Like, exactly.
As a team,
yeah. So, even though they might not be a good couple right now, they're a good team still.
Yes.
Then, Xaden totally embarrasses Dane. Quote, you should take her at her word. In fact, if you don't, I'll take personal offense. She made her choice, and it wasn't you. It will never be you. I know it. She knows it. The whole quadrant knows it. How do you feel about this?
Yeah. Back to the whole hurt ego thing. It felt like he took it very far. Like, just, it seemed like a very extreme direction to take it. But at the same time, like, right now, I guess, in his mind, he's like, Dane is the reason all this happened. And Dane is behind it, and Dane is involved. And so I guess turning the knife would be big. But it just felt very public and like, oh, why are we airing this out here?
I imagine being Violet, and, like, part of you is like, ooh, and part of you is like, ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Captain Fitzgibbons finishes reading the death roll, and Violet thinks to herself, quote, the final test for war games is always deadly, ensuring only the strongest riders move on to graduation. But Liam was the strongest for a year, and that didn't save him. The way Rebecca Yarros describes the physical and emotional struggle Violet has hearing Liam and Soleil's names read out was absolutely devastating. Like, I physically in my body felt her trying to hold back tears. And
I know.
When
Can
she
you
says,
believe
like,
I didn't cry reading that? I didn't cry reading that.
That is shocking.
I was shocked with myself as I was reading it. I was like, oh my God, this is so heartbreaking. But I didn't cry. And I was like, what?
You know, like, that's how I felt. I didn't cry when Liam died.
Okay.
I felt so, like, proud.
Of him?
No, of myself.
Oh, of yourself. I know. I was like, oh my God, my emotions are in check.
I am controlling myself when it comes to fictional characters.
Yes.
Commandant Panchak basically just, like, announces that everyone who's a first year is now a second year, and so on and so forth. And then he calls on the third years to step forward and receive their orders. Then we find out they depart pretty much immediately, like, the next day.
Yeah.
And I am not okay. I need Violet and Xaden to be okay. I'm the kind of person, like, when I get into a fight with someone, I need to resolve it now. I'm too anxious. Like, I can't let it fester.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I need to take, like, a beat, but not not long because, yeah, I feel the same way. Because, like, you don't want to dwell on those emotions. I'd rather just talk it out. Communicate.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
And fix it, yeah. But in this moment, I was like, oh my God, Xaden's leaving. And I'm like, what's going to happen in the book? I'm like, I don't want a book without Xaden. Like, anyway.
You'll see. The squad is talking about how anticlimactic the graduation was, and they're thinking, like, who's the next wing leader going to be? And apparently Dane did a pretty good job filling in for Xaden. Major eye roll.
Yeah, well, we already know he's gunning for it, so.
Yeah. And Violet has this thought that maybe Basgiath is exactly what the Griffin Flyer called it, a death factory. Park, park, park. I think if ever we make merch, like, that's going to be one of the things. Park.
Park. I love it.
As Xaden goes to pick up his assignment, Violet realizes that he'll be gone by morning, and she's, like, already having the thought spiral that, like, I just had. She's like, I should be happy for the space, but I'm not, and I feel that so hard. Like, when I get into a fight with Justin, I tell him, like, leave me alone. But she's like, but don't, like, stick to me like glue. Try to make it up to me. Be nice to me immediately.
Oh, that's so funny.
Formation is dismissed, and everyone cheers, and the chapter ends on a really foreboding note. Quote, out of the 11 first years that came through our squad during the year, both before and after threshing, the 5 of us are the only ones left standing. For now.
Yeah. And so in the last book, anytime there was, like, a tally of who was surviving, someone died almost immediately after. So I was like,
Great.
Awards. Most romantic line. I brushed my hand over my pocket, feeling the ridges of the little carving of Darna Liam had been working on before he died.
Aw, that's cute. Yeah. Mine was, I promised your brother I'd handle the other Aetos. The family aspect and the, like, feels very boyfriend.
Yeah.
What's your funniest line?
What else? You're going to threaten to kill me, Ryerson? Why should I when Sorengale is perfectly capable of doing that herself?
Nice.
It was Dane and Xaden.
Mine was, a swift kick to the balls wouldn't be uncalled for, would it? She has a thing for balls, this girl.
Yeah, we love a swift kick to the balls.
Spiciest.
Went sassy.
Okay.
And clearly your discretion lacks common fucking sense.
That was mine for a while.
Yeah.
But then I changed it to, this is a Xaden and Dane interaction. This is, like, after Violet gives him shit and he, like, embarrasses him, whatever, he goes, but in case it's not, every time you think of reaching for her face, I want you to remember one word. Athbine. Which is actually supposed to be pronounced Athbane, but...
Bane.
Yeah. Chapter 5, last chapter of the episode.
Yeah. It is time for the riders to celebrate the end of the year. Fight hard, party hard, as they say. Xaden comes to say goodbye, and the tension between him and Violet only builds until Colonel Aetos comes in to ruin the moment. Like father, like son. Only the Colonel is more sinister and gives them assignments that will only weaken the bond between their dragons and make their life even more difficult.
Oof. Although I will say, it won't weaken the bond between the dragons. It'll just cause them physical pain.
Oh, I thought, okay. When in reading that it causes them pain, I just assumed that, like, it makes them weaker and, like...
Oh, it might make them weaker.
Yeah, but their bond is still strong.
But their bond is still strong, yeah.
Okay.
The pre-chapter blurb is, after 3 consecutive deaths of prisoners during his interrogations, it is this command's opinion that Major Burton Varys should be reassigned from an active wing until further notice. And this is a missive from Lieutenant Colonel de Grency, Samara Outpost, to General Melgren. This...
I know.
Good news.
As soon as I read that, I was like, no, this is the person from the back of the book, or, like, the
This
excerpt
is the person.
you read.
Yes.
I was like, oh no.
It is him. That is correct.
I am scared.
But also, from the trigger warnings, you should be very, very afraid.
No.
My legs are all scrunched and sore.
Yeah.
I did another attempt of the Nesta challenge yesterday.
Oh, and?
In 20 minutes, I did like 1,300 or 1,500 steps.
Okay.
So we have a long way to go.
So, yeah, the cadets are partying. Basically, I mean, they don't have a graduation ceremony, but they sure do party.
Yeah.
There's basically, I think, 3 days between
5
graduation.
days.
Oh, it's 5. 5 days between graduation and the first year's coming. So they basically have a few days to just enjoy life, which is not common as a dragon rider. So they're celebrating. There's food. There's drinks. The atmosphere is just
the cocktail
really...
sounded divine. I love a lemon-based drink.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a lavender lemonade, spiked lavender
Yeah.
lemonade, delish.
Yeah, it
We
sounds
should, you know what we
amazing.
should do is like we should
Make
just
it.
yeah,
Okay.
just like on like a nice like for no reason, just like
For
we
no
can
reason.
hang out and
Yeah,
like
and have some.
have some. Riddick is excited about the potential lifting of a ban that has prevented the cadets from visiting the village of Shantara.
I mean, hello, Hogsmeade.
I wrote the same thing. Hello, Hogsmeade, but it's also giving Cassian being banned from the summer court.
Oh, it's true.
But we never find out. Like, we just said,
Why?
like, he destroyed a building or something, but,
Yeah.
like, we don't know why.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it is 1,000% giving Hogsmeade.
Yeah, which makes me really happy because I love Hogsmeade in the story. Like, I
Yeah.
love that portion of it, but I also love that, like, it just allows us to see characters outside of the normal day-to-day class. Like,
Yeah.
when I was in school, I loved field trips, not because of where we were going, but because it totally changed the social dynamics of the class and the day. Because, like, you're not in a learning setting necessarily. You're not, like, restricted to your desk. You could mull about and, like, talk to different people because you're still in the same groups without, like, anyway. So I just, like, love that, like, field trip dynamic. So I'm very curious to see.
Yeah.
Where that
Except it's
takes
not
us.
even a field trip. It's like a night out dynamic.
Yeah.
Anyway, Riddick is so funny because he's like, maybe this will be the year. Because I think, was it Nadine? Someone was like, oh, it's just a rumor. Like, anyway. They're mainly concerned about the dating pool, which I think is hysterical.
Yeah, because people are getting around a lot and getting
There's a lot of
incestuous.
quote-unquote celebrating.
Yes.
Nadine, who has made a total 180 since book one, she's now super friendly with everyone, including Mark ones, is like, yeah, I bet by third year it gets downright incestuous. Then we get a really, like, that was like a nice little high. We got some giggles. We got some, warm feels. Now we get this super low, learning that a third of them will not even make it to third year.
Yeah.
Or to graduation or to third year.
Oh, I don't remember what the quote
Regardless, a lot of them are going to be dead. We also find out that second years get weekends, and I guess we never noticed in Fourth Wing that they had no time off.
Yeah, I think we discussed it a bit, and even just the fact that they go, like, from one year into the other. There's no
that we
summers
noticed,
and-
but I guess, like, I didn't really think about the days of the week.
Yeah. Basically, they're listing off all the perks of being a second year. So
Yeah.
Shantara is one of them. Weekends, letters to home,
Yep.
and they don't have to do chores anymore,
Yeah.
which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, good.
Why not?
Good perks.
So when they're talking about the weekends, this kind of opens the door to start teasing Violet about Xaden. And Nadine's like, everyone saw you in his flight jacket and heard what he said today. And I want to scream in Violet's face. Like, I'm so annoyed with her because she thinks, quote, right, the display after he told me that he'd always keep secrets from me. It's like, these are apples and oranges.
I know.
This is two very separate
Yeah.
things.
Basically, right after that, too, the conversation kind of shifts towards the battle, and they're being asked, like, what happened.
Yeah.
And Violet just can't cope with lying to her friends.
Yeah.
And basically what Zane was saying earlier is, like, you need to learn how to tell selective truths, or you need to distance yourself. And in this moment, Violet's kind of like, well, maybe I need to distance myself. And it was here that I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Like, I could see the road ahead. I could see where the book is headed. I could see the angst. I could see the pushing people away. And I feel like it's going to be a long road. And I don't know how much I like that. That's all. We'll see.
The joy of not having read the whole book.
I know. But yeah, just in this moment, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But whatever.
I'll be there for you to vent to. Honestly, it might end up working in our favor if you have like different kinds of feelings about this book, because it'll introduce interesting conversations between us and a different dynamic. Like we gushed all of Fourth Wing. So we're still going to gush through a lot of Iron Flame, but I think we're going to vent through a lot of Iron Flame as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very different journey.
Yeah. So like you were saying, Violet's kind of like closing in on herself when she's thinking about how to address Nadine's question about what it was like. And Imogen steps in, quote, "It fucking sucked. You want the truth? If it wasn't for Ryerson and Soragale, we'd all be dead." A compliment. Imogen, you spoil us.
I know. I was like, oh my goodness, she's also done a 180. Like,
Yeah.
That's great.
Then Violet thinks to herself, quote, "There's no pity in her pale green eyes as she stares back, but there's no defensive snark either, just respect. Her pink hair falls away from her cheek as she tilts her head at me. Quote, well, I'm still quoting. And as much as I wish none of it had happened, at least those of us who were there truly know the horror of what we're up against. Then she toasts to Liam.
Yeah.
This is kind of in defiance to this unwritten rule that they don't talk about the dead cadets after their name is read on the death roll. And, you know, now that we all know that venin are real, I wanted to take a moment to talk about another theory that is out there for basically why we never acknowledge people in, like, society after they're dead and, like, why we burn them and burn their things. And that is that the reason they burn people and their things is to stop them
from becoming venin.
Yeah. It makes it literally impossible.
Yeah, that makes sense. But is there lore that, like, venin are undead? I mean, I guess they lost their soul, but...
But, like, if you think... Maybe like a venin, like, this is pure hypothesis.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not using any, I'm not trying to, like, confuse you or throw you off the scent or anything.
This is just, like, theories that people have,
So, like, let's just think, okay, a venin can suck the life out of the ground or, like, out of the world, right? Well, who's to say that they wouldn't use that energy and, like, channel it into a human being rather than into themselves?
Or into a wyvern.
Right, but, like, I'm just saying to create more venin.
Yeah.
Though, when you think about it, it doesn't really seem like it's in their best interest because then there's, like, more competition for resources. So I'm not really sure how I feel about this theory.
Yeah, we don't know how... Oh, I guess venin just choose to become... Yeah, okay. Venin
but, like, the more venin there are, the more strain there is on
the resources.
The resources, yeah.
Yeah. We don't know how smart they are, though.
That's true. They might not, like, they might be governed by, like, instinct, not necessarily, like, thought.
Yeah. Not thinking clearly because they're so, like, drunk on the power kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, interesting theory, though.
Thanks. I didn't come up with that.
No, I know. It just is. I mean, in, like Supernatural, the show, they always say, like, oh, you have to salt and burn the bones because that way, you know, the soul will be at peace and, like, the body can't come back to life. The soul can't come back as a ghost. Like, it's just, like, so similar. Similar idea.
Interesting.
Then Violet feels Xaden from across the room and she looks up and there he is, leaning against a wall, looking all cool, your favorite move, mentally flirting with her. And, like... How can she resist? How can she resist this man? Anyway.
Well, he's talking to Garrick, but he's staring at her.
Yeah. Which is like, the way he stares is just attractive.
I know. But actually, before this happens, there's just a little thing I want. It's not really like park it, but like Quinn says not to bother learning the names or like getting to know the first years until threshing.
Yeah.
Grim. So... After Violet, like, notices Xaden there and they're, like, mind-to-mind flirting, she says, I'll be right back. And Riddick's like, it makes me laugh so hard. So she's like, I'll be right back. And Riddick goes, I certainly hope not, or you'll destroy all my fantasies when it comes to that one. Oh, don't worry. Xaden takes his sweet, sweet time. It's just not one of those days, you know?
Yeah, we'll get there. So, yeah, they start talking, and we find out that Xaden is a lieutenant.
Well, they knew that.
Oh, I thought
every third year becomes a lieutenant.
Oh, I thought it was a role.
No.
Oh, never mind.
No, it's a level in the army.
Okay. I thought it was like an important one.
No. I mean, important one. I don't know.
I thought it was of rank, but I don't know anything about the army.
So. Me neither. Violet can't help but compliment him on how good he looks. They flirt a little, and Xaden asks her to walk out to the flight float with him. They pass a bunch of cadets that are waiting by like an announcement board for promotions, and I personally hate this practice. I remember in high school, like for roles in like the theater productions, or even like in college, I was on the cheer team, and like to find out if I made the cheer team. Yeah, I don't like this. I find it very
stressful.
Stress-inducing, exactly. Then she asks why he's not waiting until tomorrow to leave. And he's like, they want wing leaders to vacate their rooms ASAP because the new ones are keeners, basically.
Yeah.
And he's like, I guess you're not offering me a place in your bed. Offer it, Violet. Offer it.
He's just like, he's so confident that he's going to win her back. And
yeah.
I love it.
She's so rude. She goes, quote, I'm not nearly drunk enough to make that lapse in judgment. I told you I don't sleep with men I don't trust, and if you're not offering full disclosure. Violet!
Yeah.
The confidence this man has, though, he seems so unfazed by all of it. He's like, don't worry, we'll get back there. It's so freaking sexy.
I know.
Oh, and then he smiles at her. She's like, oh, I might change my mind. Change it!
She will. I don't know when, but she will. I mean, we have 600 pages. You know?
I know. Then he says something that I really think is important.
Yeah.
And I want to discuss with you.
Yeah.
He goes, it's confidence, not arrogance, because she was like saying that he was being arrogant. I don't lose the fights I pick, and we're both allowed to have boundaries. You're not the only one who gets to set the rules in this relationship.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. It's a two-way street. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you'd have more thoughts.
Oh, okay. No, I guess I didn't think too much about it, but no, I agree. Relationships involve two people, and like I think that's not like a hard lesson to learn, but it is a lesson to learn in being in a relationship, especially in a world that nowadays, like everything is so catered to us and so personalized. Like everything we have is personalized. Everything is catered to us and programmed. So it's like people have trouble making relationships because there's pushback there, which is like normal. Like you cannot control and personalize another human. They are already a human, you know?
Yeah.
So it's part of being in a relationship.
Absolutely. It's a growing pains that I think she's going to hopefully grow out of.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it just comes back to like this situation, whatever. She needs to be hurt and have her feel her feelings and whatever. But at the end of the day, she needs to realize it's so much bigger than you, Violet. Get over it.
Yeah, for sure.
So then, Colonel Aetos appears with Major Varish, who is there to enforce stricter discipline. Basically, he comes all smug, being a little shit, and gives them envelopes with their new assignments, I guess you could call them.
I don't know what you would call them. I guess it's like their special
permissions.
Yeah.
Because their dragons are
They're like accommodations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because their dragons are mated. Basically, Violet receives orders granting permission to leave once every 14 days to see Sigale and Xaden vice versa.
Yeah, so they basically will see each other once a week.
Yeah.
When we get introduced to Major Varish, who's there to quote-unquote tighten the ship. Remember the last time we had a new staff member to come tighten the ship? She wore pink.
Umbridge.
She had a funny giggle, and she introduced torture as a means of discipline.
Yeah. I must not tell lies.
Yeah. The bad news is Varish only answers to Pancheck, not even Sorengale. So that's kind of scary.
Yeah. So it's like going over her head.
Yeah. Also, did you notice that when Xaden went to take the letters, he was very careful not to touch Varish's hands?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, which made me just think that maybe he had some sort of
Well, it's just now
powers?
I think you have to be aware, like, people don't advertise their signets, right? So I think Xaden, being somebody who has a lot of secrets, is very careful about putting himself at risk or opening himself up to risk with other people's signets. So he's just not
because he doesn't
risking it. How many times can I say that word? Oh my gosh.
We learned that this situation is going to put a lot of strain on Taryn and Sigale.
Yeah.
Because last time they only lasted, what was it, 3 days? So pushing it to a week is going to put a lot of strain on them emotionally and possibly physically. And basically Colonel Aetos is trying to
be a little
ruin Xaden and Violet.
Yeah. And when Violet reaches out to Taryn, he roars in her head so loudly it rattles her brain. Like, I feel so bad.
Yeah. He's like heartbroken.
I know. Then Aetos says something so ominous. He says, I was worried about our earlier conversations until I remembered something. Secrets make for poor leverage. They die with the people who keep them. Immediately, the Pretty Little Liars theme song got stuck in my head.
I love that show. That's great.
Yeah, it's a great show. Anyway, that's the end of the chapter.
That is.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, what a roller coaster.
I know.
And it's just the beginning.
We got, a lot of info in these first 5.
Awards.
Most romantic. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Picking a fight for you. There's a difference. Instead of picking a fight with you. I like that. Fight for me! Fight for me, Xaden!
You want the truth? If it wasn't for Ryerson and Sorengale, we'd all be dead.
Yeah. Love that.
Love it.
Love the turnaround from Imogen.
Love it.
Mo, my girl. My funniest is Violet is complimenting Xaden on how good he looks in, like, rider like official leathers. And he goes, they're exactly like the cadet ones. Corner of his mouth lifts, but it's not quite a smile. Didn't say you didn't look good in those too.
My funniest was Rhiannon pulls one of her braids under her nose and furrows her brow like Panchik as she mock lectures. You do know that trips to Kanchara are for worship only, cadet. Which is just such a, like, who didn't mock
Their
or make
teachers.
fun of their teachers?
Yeah.
You know?
What's your spiciest line?
Don't worry about the bed. We'll get back there. The anticipation is good for us.
Same. I love it.
Yes. That's it.
That is it. So today was a little bit of a longer episode. We had a lot of
info.
A lot of chit chat, a lot of tangents.
Yeah, we'll tighten up.
Thank you so much for listening to our first episode of season 2. We have been having so much fun bringing you this podcast and our social media content, and we're just thrilled to keep the party going with Iron Flame. So please rate this podcast, leave a review. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It really helps us a lot, and it'll help other people find us. If you're interested in supporting our podcast, we have our Amazon storefront. The link is in the description notes where you can find some of our favorite things like books we love and more. You can also follow us on Instagram at Book Bound Pod and on TikTok at Book Bound Besties. Please tag us in your reaction videos if you're reading along with us. If you're listening, please share it so you can spread the word and your friends can know about us. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, as always, you can email us at bookboundpod@gmail.com. Let's get to reading!